What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is Jack, back like I never left, and we're here to talk to you about October baseball. But before I get into the playoffs, which of course start today, Tuesday, September 29th, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the most exciting team and their journey to get here, and that, of course, I'm talking about the Cincinnati Reds. Being from Cincinnati, I'm a huge Reds fan. Reds fans, we've had our struggles over the years. A 7-year drought. We had great off-season pickups. We had quite possibly the best starting rotation coming in with Sonny Gray, Castillo, and Trevor Bauer. There are other teams that you can make the case for, but Reds should definitely be up there, and I believe they are. The Reds were definitely excited. The Reds fans were definitely excited this year. Had their first win of the season, Game 1, actually. And then things started to fall off, and, everybody was pointing fingers. A lot of the issue came with the relievers, for as great as the starting pitching rotation that the Reds had, they had quite possibly the worst relievers and closers. And then, when the relievers picked it up in August, then we stopped hitting. We had a lot of issues. The Reds had a lot of issues there. I think most of the issue was because everybody was swinging for the fences rather than swinging to get a hit. And then everything finally came together at the perfect time. Within the last, I want to say 4 series, we beat the Pirates, we beat the White Sox, we beat the Brewers, and then, of course, we played the hardest, quite possibly the hardest competition that the Reds have had against the Twins, and they were able to pull at least one win out of that to secure a spot. And it was just the most exciting team, and you hear it from the Reds post-game interviews, especially Joey Votto. He says, we're a nightmare, and everybody knows it. And I think you see that from the fans. So that leads me into talking about the playoffs, which of course start tonight. And I'll get a breakdown right here. We've got 4 games coming on tonight. We've got Minnesota versus Houston, Oakland versus the Chicago White Sox, Tampa Bay versus Toronto, and of course Cleveland versus the Yankees. And Cleveland is another great team that we've seen this year, especially Shane Bieber. I mean, what a pitcher. Being a Reds fan, I am so thankful that they do Cy Youngs for each league, because if they did one Cy Young, I don't think Bauer would have gotten it. I think Shane Bieber would have it all the way. I'm going to start with that series, the Cleveland Indians versus New York Yankees. Game 1 is tonight at 7. This is going to be a great pitching matchup. Game 1, Shane Bieber versus Garrett Cole. Both teams are pretty hot right now. Jose Ramirez has been playing absolutely fantastic, especially as we got closer to October. But I never want to put anything past the Yankees. Earlier in the year, they were on a 6-game streak of multiple home runs. They were just hitting on all sides of the ball. They were getting on base. They were doing everything right. I think this game is crucial for Cleveland. I think they lose this game. Obviously, with a 3-game series, you lose Game 1 and your odds are a lot smaller. But playing with your best pitcher going up against their best pitcher in Garrett Cole, this is, you can't look past this game and hope for another one. I'm going to go Cleveland Indians win this one. I think Shane Bieber gets the win. I think it's not that Garrett Cole gets the loss. I think the bullpen for the Yankees gets the loss. And then that win is ultimately going to push Cleveland ahead. I think Cleveland's going to take this series in 3. I think it's going to go to the final game, and I think Cleveland Indians are going to take it. Now we go to another game that's happening tonight. Right before that game is Tampa Bay versus Toronto. Should be an easy call. Tampa Bay should win this series. I think they'll win this series in 2 games. There's not much that I need to say about that one, as much as I'm going to need to say about this next game that's right before that, the Chicago White Sox versus Oakland A's. This game, I'm going White Sox all the way. I think they're going to be the 7th seed that wins at least one series. White Sox, you can't sleep on the White Sox this year. Jose Abreu's been playing fantastic. Their best hitter by far. Their pitching's been pretty good. I think Oakland A's, you don't hear too much about them. The Oakland A's are, by record, a better team, but I think, watching the Chicago White Sox play, I think Chicago White Sox should be able to win this 2, maybe 3. And then that'll lead us to the final game of the night, Houston versus Minnesota. This is, of course, the Houston Shame Tour. Somehow they made the playoffs. But, I think Minnesota is quite possibly the best team in this league. So I think Minnesota's got this easily. They'll win in 2 games. And then we'll move on. That was a quick run-through breakdown. I know it wasn't a lot. The biggest things that I wanted to focus on was Cleveland versus the Yankees, because I think that'll be the most exciting series in this league. And then looking at Chicago White Sox versus Oakland A's, I think Chicago should be able to pull this off. I think their pitching's a lot better. I think they're hitting the ball a lot more. I think they're overall a better team. Now, of course, these are my predictions, and usually when I predict something, I'm typically wrong. I usually have the jinx that nobody's ever seen before. I think there's that to take into account, but I feel pretty confident with these choices. Now we're going to move on to the National League. We're going to look at the Dodgers versus the Brewers. Dodgers are quite possibly the best team in the MLB. Mookie Betts was a great pickup for this team, and he's been outstanding. He had a slow start, I feel. I watched a couple of their games. The very first game, I believe, when they played the Giants, he didn't look great at the plate, but he soon picked things up. He was on a new team. He was, getting a feel for things. I think Dodgers should win this one easy. They'll win in 2 games, and they'll be moving on to Arlington. Then we got the Cardinals versus the Padres. This one, I feel, it's going to be pretty tough. Padres, man, are a great hitting team. They had Tatis Jr., who was outstanding this year. He's been, you saw him all over ESPN, the way he's hitting these home runs. He's just a big, bright light for San Diego. St. Louis, being a Reds fan, I'm not going to root for St. Louis. I'm going to go with the Padres, though. I think it'll take Game 3. And so the Padres will play LA in Arlington in the National League Divisional Series. Now we're going to move on to the Marlins versus the Cubs. Marlins have picked things up later on. They were just like the Reds. They were one of those teams that were fighting till the very last game to actually make it. The Cubs, of course, are great. The Cubs have Yu Darvish, a Cy Young candidate. Of course, he shouldn't win, and I'll get to that later. Cubs have great pitching. Cubs have great hitting. Cubs have a lot of depth. I think Cubs will take this one, and they'll move on to Houston to take on the winner of the Reds and Atlanta Braves, and that's going to be the most exciting series, I think. Being a Reds fan, I am incredibly excited for this. I think Reds quite possibly have one of the best pitching rotations, especially in the National League. I know there was a little graphic that showed top 10 postseason rotations, you see they had the Reds labeled at 7th. The Padres were 5th. I think 7th is maybe a little low for them, but, we'll see. There was that one little brief period where all three of our best starting pitchers, had a little rough patch. Sonny Gray, I think he gave up like 6 runs, and then he got injured, and then he had to take a couple days off. Luis Castillo, he's had better seasons, I feel. This wasn't anywhere close to his best season. I think he has potential to be better than what he was this year. Trevor Bauer, that's what I want to get to. Trevor Bauer is the best pitcher in the National League. Trevor Bauer is going to win the Cy Young. I don't like to be super specific. I don't like to call things as they are. I typically like to say I believe just to keep myself safe. But no, there is no reason that Trevor Bauer loses the Cy Young. He's leading the National League in strikeouts. He's leading the National League in ERA. He's leading the league in WHIP, which of course is walks plus hits divided by innings pitched. He's covering every stat. He's leading every stat. He was I believe I just saw a stat. He was winning the ERA. He was the first Reds pitcher to win the ERA title since 1944. He has a 1.73 ERA. He's the best pitcher in the National League, hands down. And with that, we look to that series against the Atlanta Braves. Atlanta Braves have a lot of big hitters. Their pitching isn't great, so the Reds are going to need to rely on their heavy hitters. They're going to need to be disciplined at the plate. Joey Votto is going to need to pick things back up. He's batting .226. He was kind of fluctuating with that 200 to 230 range. Eugenio Suarez, he definitely picked things up. Slow start, wasn't getting the bat on the ball, but now he's leading the Reds in home runs with 15 and RBIs with 38. And of course, Nick Castellanos and Mike Moustakas, 2 great pickups for the Reds. Moose has had, I want to say, back-to-back games of huge home runs. There was one in this Twins series where he had 2 home runs in a game. So we're going to rely heavily on him and Castellanos. Now, the Braves are a great hitting team, as I mentioned before. So, the Reds are going to need to find a way. If the Reds pitchers give up too many hits, it's going to be gone. Atlanta will win this if they get past Trevor Bauer. I think this is the most crucial game for the Reds, is game 1. Because if you lose with Trevor Bauer, I don't think you win. I don't want to say that, but, looking at the starting rotation, looking at the teams, I feel it's not blasphemous to say that if Trevor Bauer and the Reds lose game 1, that the Reds won't win this series. So I think, Castillo's pitching game 2, and he's probably of the starting 3 star pitchers of the starting rotation, Castillo's probably the 3rd best. They're, of course, saving Sonny Gray for last because, if it's a tie series, you want your second best pitcher to be there. You want the next best thing to be there. I'm not saying Luis Castillo will lose it. He has a very good chance to win game 2 for us. But I think game 1 is absolutely crucial for the Reds. And it should be their first playoff series win in a while. I'm going with the Reds. Reds will play the Cubs in Houston. Now we're going to move on to the next series. Tampa Bay will play. I had Cleveland Indians winning this series. Tampa Bay versus Cleveland Indians in San Diego. Tampa Bay is too good. I'm taking Tampa Bay in that one. They'll play again in San Diego in the ALCS. White Sox versus Twins. It's a tough call. Two divisional rivals going at it in Los Angeles. Twins have one of the best starting rotations for the AL. Going back to that top 10 postseason rotations, they had the Twins at number 4 and the White Sox at 8. I'm going to go I'm going to go Twins. I think the White Sox, again, have great hitters, and they have a solid pitching rotation, but I'm going to go Twins in this one. I think the Twins were the best team in that division. But, this season has great things to show for White Sox. White Sox fans should be incredibly excited for what the team has to come in the future seasons. But I'm going to go Minnesota Twins are taking on Tampa Bay and San Diego. All right, NLDS, Los Angeles versus San Diego. Again, Dodgers are the best team in the NL, hands down. They're the 1 seed for a reason. Mookie Betts is, on that hot streak right now. He's found his team. He's picked it up. LA should be able to take down the Padres. And now they'll be moving on to the NLCS. And they will play the winner of the Cubs and the Reds. And that will be a very exciting matchup. Cubs, Reds, again, divisional rivals here. It'll be interesting to see what that starting rotation would be. Give or take, the Reds make that and the Cubs make that. Two, again, great starting pitching rotations. A lot of great hitting from both sides. It's a close call. They've been close throughout the entire season. The last matchup they had, if I could pull it up here. Last matchup they had, the Reds won 1 of 3. But, they played a lot better ever since. Again, I said after that loss to Chicago, they won the series against St. Louis. They beat Pittsburgh. They swept Pittsburgh. They won the series against Chicago. They won the series against Milwaukee, and they won the series against Minnesota. There was that hot streak where they won, let me count it, of the Reds' last 16 games. That is right after the Chicago Cubs series. Reds have won 12. 12 of 16. They've lost 1 to Minnesota. They lost 1 to Milwaukee. They lost 1 to Chicago. And they lost 1 to St. Louis. Reds are not the same team as they were in early September. And with that reasoning, with the hot streak that the Reds are on, it's a tough call, but I'm going Reds to face the Dodgers in the NLCS. And now, for the championship series, I have Tampa Bay versus Minnesota Twins. Tampa Bay has the best starting pitching rotation. Tampa Bay has the best starting pitching rotation. It'll be a pitcher's duel. I'm gonna go Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay will be in the World Series, and they'll go on to play LA. The Dodgers, I think, are, again, I've said it over and over, I think the Dodgers are too strong. No matter how much of a nightmare the Reds are, no matter how hot that streak is for them, Dodgers win that series. And they will play Tampa Bay. And the Dodgers will be your 2020 World Series champions. They will go on to beat Tampa Bay. The Dodgers will prove themselves to be the best team in the MLB. I feel they already have, but we'll definitely see it this postseason. Now, I think a lot of people will bring up, Clayton Kershaw has choked quite a bit in the postseason. I think they pick things up. I think he changes. The Dodgers have a lot more than Clayton Kershaw. I think the Dodgers are a team to look out for, despite any chokes they may have had throughout the season. I think Dodgers are the team to beat. And so I'm going to go Dodgers win this series. Dodgers win the World Series. Thank you all for listening. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at SportsBreakOhio and follow me at JDogBobcat. And don't forget, always take a sports break.